The upscale cafe manager's voice cracked like a whip across the dining room. "You're done, Anya. Take your disruption and go. This establishment does not tolerate family liabilities." The sound of a silver tray crashing against the stainless steel counter followed. Then the calm, deep voice of the corner patron, Dominic Stone, cut through the noise. "Manager, you've just breached a critical ethical threshold, and I believe I hold the authority to enforce consequences." The sharp, shocking sound of specialized data terminal announcing acquisition code Omega activated was a climax, followed by the terrifying realization the manager and patrons, the quiet observer they dismissed, was the new, absolute owner of their financial fate. The setting was the Gilded Fork, a boutique high-end cafe located in the financial district of New York, catering to the city's most demanding corporate clientele. Dominic Stone, the enigmatic founder of Ascend Capital, a private equity firm that specialized in high-speed, distressed asset acquisitions, sat alone. A man of dark complexion in his late 30s, Dominic was dressed in subtle bespoke tailoring, blending into room while remaining keenly observant. He was utilizing the cafe's quiet corner for a crucial, final stage negotiation on a massive takeover. The confrontation centered on Anya Petrova, a young, single mother of dark complexion who worked as a lead server. Anya was known for her diligence, but today her situation was dire. Her 5-year-old daughter, Lila, was suddenly ill, and the scheduled babysitter failed to show. Anya, desperate, had brought Lila to work, sequestering her in a quiet and used alcove near the kitchen, hoping the child would sleep. The disaster struck when Lila, roused by a sudden coughing fit, wandered tearfully into the dining room. The cafe manager, Robert Sterling, a man obsessed with the facade of luxury, immediately spotted the child. He rushed forward, his face a mask of furious professional indignation. "Anya, what is this abomination?" Robert hissed, seizing Anya's arm. "I specifically forbid children. They contaminate the brand. Our patrons pay for exclusivity, not a crash." The injustice was searing. Robert was dehumanizing Anya, choosing the cold, arbitrary rules of corporate image over the desperate necessity of a working parent. Dominic was the observer, his gaze fixed on the hostile, class-based assumption that essential service workers were disposable and lacked personal crises. The ominous hint of future reversal was a complex, custom encryption symbol etched onto the back of Dominic's luxury watch. It was the authentication key for the global network controlling Ascend Capital's entire $20 billion portfolio. Anya struggled to pull Lila back, her voice shaking with fear. "Mr. Sterling, please. It was an emergency. I will call a cab right now and leave. Just please don't let this cost me my job. I have no one else for her, and she needs medication." The wrongdoers allowed, arrogant, confident. Robert Sterling snatched the order pad from Anya, his eyes burning with disdain. "Cost you your job? Of course it will. You showed total disrespect for the clientele. You think this place is a charity? Your desperation is a liability. Anya, I am firing you, effective immediately. Get your belongings and get that child out of this establishment." A nearby patron, Tiffany Hayes, an investment banker who had been served by Anya, spoke up with sharp disdain. "Honestly, Robert, I agree. Some people just don't understand professionalism. Take your problems elsewhere." Anya suffered emotionally. The humiliation was deep. Being publicly dismissed and having her role as a mother mocked and deemed unprofessional by both her boss and clientele she served. She felt the crushing weight of institutional indifference in the face of human need. Must include one specific, nonverbal act of dignity or kindness from the protagonist despite the mistreatment. Dominic Stone, who had silently completed the final legal confirmation on his laptop, leaned forward and discreetly slid his platinum corporate credit card and a small, folded business card across the table toward Anya. The gesture was instantaneous, a private promise that he would endure the immediate abuse but activate the full weight of his financial network to enforce justice. The card being a signal of absolute, unfettered financial backing. Robert Sterling, seeing the interaction, stormed over to Dominic's table, towering over the billionaire. "Sir, this is an internal matter." Robert spat, pointing at Anya. "And I don't appreciate you interfering with a dismissed employee. If you assist her, I will have you removed for trespassing." A nervous, elderly dishwasher, Maria, who had been watching from the kitchen entrance, rushed out and placed a clean, warm blanket around Lila, who was now shivering. Maria's gesture was an attempt to provide comfort and kindness, but Robert saw it as defiance. Robert pointed a furious finger at Maria. Maria, you are suspended, colluding with a terminated distraction. You are a poor example to the staff. Robert successfully silenced the low-status intervention. Robert stood triumphant, believing he had asserted total control and punished kindness. He turned his attention back to Dominic, ready to call building security. A high-status character was watching. Chief Financial Officer, CFO, Wallace Vance of the parent company, Urbane Leisure Group, had received an urgent alert about an unauthorized, massive-by-order stock coinciding with a specific GPS location code in New York. Recognizing the volume and the sophisticated methodology, CFO Vance immediately paused his work and started paying attention, tracing the activity directly to Dominic Stone. Dominic, knowing the CFO was now tracking him, closed his laptop. He reached into his jacket pocket, not for a wallet, but for a small, secured electronic key fob. He pressed the key fob once. The press of the key fob initiated an immediate, high-priority corporate communication lockdown across the entire Urbane Leisure Group. All external communications were severed, and an internal server message flashed across the company's regional digital screens. Urgent. Management restructuring commencing. All executive access locked. Robert Sterling was momentarily distracted by the sudden, silent flash on the bar's digital menu board. He tried to check his phone, but the signal was dead. What was that? Robert demanded, his voice laced with confusion. He pointed at the door. Sir, I am giving you one last chance. Get out. Dominic remained seated, his face unmoving. Robert, I am not an attorney, and I am certainly not trespassing. I am the man who, as of 30 seconds ago, acquired the majority of your parent company's outstanding debt and triggered the ownership conversion clause. I am now in control of the entire Urbane Leisure Group. Robert stared, paralyzed. That's a lie. Urbane Leisure is a billion-dollar entity. That would take weeks. It took precisely 4 minutes of high-speed trading. Dominic corrected calmly. He glanced at his secure watch. The acquisition notice will hit the New York Stock Exchange in 2 minutes, but I believe you need a more immediate confirmation. Just before the shocking reveal, we want to take a quick moment to thank you for your support, love, and kindness. We wouldn't have come this far without you. Subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue to bring you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. Dominic picked up the manila folder he had placed on the table, which contained the original negotiation terms he was supposed to finalize later that afternoon. He opened it and pulled out a single signed document. This is a legally binding, pre-signed letter of authority. Dominic informed Robert. It was prepared for the original board, but will now serve a different purpose. He slid the document to Robert. It was a formal, stamped decree of termination. Manager Sterling, I am the new CEO of Urbane Leisure Group, Dominic stated, his voice flat with finality. I am informing you that your abusive firing of Anya Petrova and your retaliatory suspension of Maria constitute gross managerial misconduct and an immediate breach of my company's ethical code. The first directive of the new management is to correct this moral failure. He pointed to the door. You are fired, effective immediately. Your access codes are already deactivated. Robert Sterling snatched the termination document, his hands trembling. He looked from the formal Ascend Capital seal on the paper to the composed man of dark complexion, sitting at the corner table. The silence in the cafe was so profound that the clatter of a dropped spoon could be heard from the kitchen. This is not real. You are attempting fraud. Robert screamed, turning to the affluent patrons. Someone called the police. This man is impersonating an executive. Dominic Stone did not raise his voice, but his command was absolute. Security detail, he instructed, addressing his 2 men who had silently positioned themselves near the entrance. During the confrontation, please confirm the severance of Mr. Sterling's access and escort him from the premises. He is no longer authorized to manage Ascend assets. At that moment, CFO Wallace Vance, the high-status character who had been tracking the unusual trading activity, burst through the cafe doors, out of breath and holding a secure tablet. He immediately recognized Dominic Stone. Mr. Stone, "Sir, the board confirmed the hostile acquisition," Wallace announced, rushing to the table. He turned to Robert Sterling with professional fury. "Robert Sterling, you are no longer employed by the Urbane Leisure Group. You are to leave this instant. Your egregious violation of the ethical code has cost us the majority control of this company." The ultimate authority had spoken. Robert Sterling, the arrogant manager who valued rules over human life, realized the nightmare was real. The man he had ordered removed was a new owner, and the executive who could have saved him was confirming his downfall. The cafe patrons, including Tiffany Hayes, watched in horrified silence as their former source of power was reduced to a figure of failure. The cafe was now owned by the man they had collectively ignored. The underestimated person is revealed as powerful. Anya, who had been standing tearfully by the door, realized that the quiet patron who had given her a platinum card and a business card was the financial titan who had just moved mountains to defend her. She looked at Lila, who was wrapped in Maria's blanket, realizing their crisis was over, replaced by a seismic shift in power. Dominic accepted the CFO's tablet, reviewing the full internal manifest. He then addressed the CFO, his voice ringing with clear, final decision-making. "Mr. Vance, my first official action as CEO is to establish a new operational standard for the Urbane Leisure Group," Dominic stated. "We will not tolerate cruelty or indifference toward our essential labor force." He then looked at the cashier station. Anya Petrova is immediately reinstated, promoted to head of operations for the entire Gilded Fork chain, and will receive a salary commensurate with a six-figure executive role. He turned to the elderly dishwasher, Maria. "Maria, your selfless act of kindness demonstrates the true value of character. You are promoted to Chief Ethics Officer of this individual location, reporting directly to Anya. Your salary is doubled." Robert Sterling tried one final, desperate appeal as the security team gripped his arms. "You can't do this. I was following policy. I was preserving the brand." Dominic fixed him with a cold, absolute glare. "The brand you preserved was based on exploitation. Ascend Capital exists to dismantle failing structures. You valued a clean floor more than human dignity. You will now experience the exact helplessness you forced upon Anya." The wrongdoers go silent. Robert was forcefully escorted out, followed closely by the patron, Tiffany Hayes, who was stunned to silence by the public display of financial power and immediate ethical reversal, instant karma. She and the other affluent customers had to settle their checks under the stern supervision of the newly promoted Chief Ethics Officer, Maria, as their entire financial district power base collapsed around them. In the weeks that followed, Dominic Stone personally oversaw the transformation of the Urbane Leisure Group. He eliminated mandatory overtime, triple parental leave, and instituted a comprehensive, free on-site childcare program for all essential New York employees, naming the program the Lila Initiative, after Anya's daughter. He had restored dignity. Anya Petrova thrived in her new executive role, using her personal experience to reshape corporate policy into a model of ethical employment. She finally had stability, security, and the authority to ensure no one else suffered the humiliation she faced. Her life improved, and she had enacted deep reflection. The elderly dishwasher, Maria, became the beloved conscience of the cafe, ensuring all staff were treated with respect. Dominic's move not only delivered justice, but also proved a powerful economic point. Ethical, employee-focused companies perform better in the long run. The quiet act of observation and strategic wealth was a final, devastating blow to the culture of arrogance in the New York service industry. The calm ending saw a corporate entity reborn through moral action,